Hey everyone, it is New Year's Eve, and today's episode is going to be a little bit different because I am so excited to be able to kind of recap the Coffee No Cream podcast year. I've always wanted to do this when I see different creators and just shows that I watch recapping all of the amazing moments and things that they've done in the previous year in prep for the year to come. And that is what we have today, guys. When I started Coffee No Cream and I launched in May of 2025, I think it was 14th to be exact. Anyway, May 2025, I did not know what was in store. I originally wanted to just bring stories to Black women and give Black women a space to tell their stories in a judgment-free zone where we can discuss the things that have happened to us in corporate America, in the workplace, just in life, living, walking this earth as a Black woman. What I didn't expect was the overwhelmingly positive response, some negative. I did get some negative, but for the most part, you guys have been amazing. And we have done exactly what I wanted to do, but so much more. We've shared Coffee No Cream moments. We've talked about the ways in which these things affected us. We've been given advice and tools and all of the amazing things. So let's just get right into it. I want to recap some of my favorite Coffee No Cream moments of the year, including my own. I know I started in May, but things started to peak for me in July. So a lot of you might not have had the chance to see my Coffee No Cream moment. And then we share some other Coffee No Cream moments as well. So let's take a look at some of the most memorable Coffee No Cream moments of 2025. I worked with a client for many years, literally saved them from ruin during COVID. I believe them to be biased. This was a woman who started her own company, and her husband worked sort of in the background, peripherally, not really engaged, didn't really enjoy the business, didn't love her taking time away from him. He was retired from the post office. No shade to post office workers. It's a fine profession. However, he had no understanding of what it was. I did. And he had said certain things and comments along the way to me, even though we brought them into the 21st century from schlepping around books and DVDs to membership website, e-courses, live courses online. We brought them up. We did amazing work for them, things that they wouldn't be able to afford if they were to hire a big agency, things he quite frankly did not understand, admittedly so. So the retainer that we were under was completely out of whack. Every month I was coming to them with lots of overages, thousands of dollars of overages. So as a result of that, I wanted to rework that retainer because bottom line, it would have saved them money. She was like the brainchild doing all the things. He would just come in and grumble and gripe when it came to paying the actual invoice. So I sent them a new retainer, and I could see on my software, he looked at it one time, never looked at it again. I asked him about it. He said he didn't understand. And he told me that I was demanding this money from him. Now, mind you, what I was asking for was less than what I was getting as in an effort to try to help them save, right? And he didn't like the fact probably that I was requesting this kind of money, but we were doing great quality work, very important in their business at the time. So I asked him, I said, well, you haven't even read, the contract. I see you didn't even really look at it. And he told me that, Erin, I feel like I'm paying Lexus prices, but I'm getting a Toyota. He has a little Southern accent. And I was just like, whoa, really? Right? So, we know what that was. Okay, that's the moment, that's the comment that was made. And, I knew where it was coming from because of all the shady, sideways stuff he had said to me before. But what just made it so completely unbelievable was the fact that this dude had no knowledge of what I did. He had no understanding. He didn't care. He didn't want to know. Had said that many, many times. So in that moment, I was like, wow, did you really just say that shit to me? But you did. So I didn't back down from that. I didn't shrink back, which is what he wanted me to do, even though I'm trying to save you money. He wanted me to shrink back. So I just immediately asked him, I said, why would you say that? What makes you think that? He said, I don't know. I don't know why I would say that. I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, I'm not letting him out of it. No, let's talk about it. I want to talk about it. And he goes on to say some other stuff. Like, he wasn't making any point. He admitted that in that moment that he was not informed. He could inform himself better, but he never would address it. He just threw that shit out there and said that sideways stuff to me, basically discounting what I had done for them, discounting what I do for them, saying my prices were like inflated, calling me aggressive in his own right because he's saying I'm demanding this. And all I did was set forth a new agreement to this man so I could get, dedicated money to me, not stressing myself out, pushing forward these overages every month, trying to help them out as a small business. So he admitted that he could do more research. He never took the time to understand what it was I did, all of the things, but he never, ever signed the agreement, which would have behooved them because then COVID happened and the overages just became incredible. Take us through your coffee no cream moment.
I'm a filmmaker, writer, producer. So I write a lot of horror projects, and I remember getting a meeting. I can't say the name of the company, but it was a really big company. And I finally got that meeting where I was like, okay, here we go. This is going to happen. I'm going to pitch this. This is a unique idea. No one's ever heard of it. And I went in there, and first, yeah, I'm a Black girl named Erin, and I have a very white name, Erin
Yes.
Norman. So people don't really know. Norman is how I think French, and Erin is Irish, so they don't know.
Yeah.
So I take the meeting, and when you walk into these spaces, sometimes you can immediately feel
Oh, yeah.
that they didn't know that you were walking in this meeting. Do you know what I mean? They didn't know what to expect. So it was like, oh, hi, so nice to meet you. That's the first thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Second, old school parents, we were raised, we speak, we speak
Exactly.
proper, you know what I mean?
Proper.
For a Black girl. So you walk in and hi, nice to meet you. And you could just see they're taken aback. But I'm pitching this project, and this is like 2007, I think, 2007, 2008. And I'm telling them, and they're listening, and they seem like they're interested. And literally at the end, they're like, so you just write horror. Like, okay, all right. What got you into horror? And I was like,
Mm,
well, what got the whole world into horror? I've been
right.
watching it since I was a kid. I mean, and the guy across the desk, this producer, and if he ever sees this, I know he's going to kick himself in the butt. He goes, I just have a question. I hope I'm not, but like, do Black people really watch horror movies?
Girl. What?
Yes, yes. What got
Yes, because the
you?
Black person always gets killed first. Don't you
Yes,
know?
exactly. I was like, and what got you into horror? And so, you know, again, I know if I was a white girl in there pitching it, it would have been about the story
Right.
and not about how I got into this genre, how
Right.
I started to write this in this, genre. It would be more about the story. And I felt like it was a missed opportunity because I literally had to flip and start talking about the Black audience and what we watch. And it was something that, if I'm being really honest, I wish I would have called him out more on that. I
Right.
just wasn't expecting it. And it was kind of like, what? Oh, okay, well, let me tell you why Black people do this, And I wish I would have been like, actually, yeah. Like I wish I would have been who I am today back then.
Cheryl, tell us what your coffee no cream moment is.
I had a patient who, because I was Black, uh, was not confident in my ability to care for them. But the kicker
Okay.
is, it was a Black person, you know, plastically
Yeah.
conditioned, you know. I guess they are the notion that if it's white, it's right. Everything that I came in, tried to do for the patient, questioned. How long you been a nurse? How long you been doing this? What school you go to? And everything else. But and she even went further to say she wanted a white nurse.
Okay, okay, back up. So you go in, you're in a hospital setting or you're in the office, like a
Hospital.
practice. Okay.
Yes.
So you're assigned these people. I don't know how they do it, like how you get assigned to your patients, but
You know,
you're
all of it
assigned.
is arbitrary. You come
Okay.
in to work and, they have the assignments made out depending on what your specialty is. I work at a rehab hospital. And so my specialty is brain injury, all things
Oh,
brain injury, from strokes, aneurysms, assaults, accidents, and the other floors are for amputees and spinal cord injury, and then we have heart failure, that type of thing. So depending on what your specialty is, usually, unless they have staffing issues, you're on your floor, and
okay.
so, other than that, it's based on, I guess, a nursing grid or a staffing pattern. You know, how many patients you have. Today, you might have 5. Tomorrow, you might have 6. On a bad day, somebody call in, you might have 9. You know,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. So
So,
you okay, you go in to see this patient and tell us what happened. Like how did it go?
immediately, you go in, hi, I'm Cheryl, welcome, if they're a new patient or, you just introduce yourself and let them know, I'm your nurse caring for you tonight. And from the beginning, you could just tell by the way she looked at you. So, how long have you been here? What are you working on? Those type of things. Just trying to break the ice and everything, because I know their history and everything else, but part of your neurological assessment is your memory and things like that. So you can do a lot of assessment on conversation. Do they know where they are? Do they know the date? Do they know the time? Do they know the setting? That type of thing. And she was just looking at me like, and and I said, "Are you uncomfortable?" And everything else. And she said, "How long have you been a nurse?" And I was like, at that point, over 20 years. How long you been at this hospital? I said, you know, I think at that time I had been there like 5 years or something like that. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, um, I just, I prefer, to have, a different nurse. And I was like, well, is something wrong with, what's going on? This is my first time having you. If you have some concerns, let me know. Did something happen, everything else? And she was like, no, just let me talk to the supervisor. And I said, it's better in those situations not to press the patient, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, why do you want
Right.
to see the supervisor and all of the stuff, It's like, that's fine, sure, I'll go get the supervisor and everything else. And ultimately, she wanted a white nurse.
So you found this out after the supervisor made told
Yes,
you after their
because
conversation. You were out of the room.
yes. So of course, after the supervisor came in and talked to the patient, I was standing by because I knew that I had never had the patient before, and like what could I have gone awry within the first 5-10 minutes of having the patient, and the supervisor was Caucasian, and so when I came out, she was like, "Yeah, this is strange. I've never had this before." And I said, what's going on? And she said she wants a white nurse.
Valencia, tell us one of your coffee no cream moments.
Okay, so through my ups and downs of life, I found myself working as an EMT for 6 years on the ambulance. I mean, saving people's lives, pumping chests. I really loved it. I had a paramedic. I was more of a senior EMT.
Okay.
And so anyway, well, I'm just going to say it, okay? Uh, he was okay. I'm always good with people, right?
White male?
How, huh?
White male?
Yeah, white male, white male.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. White male, and I would say would probably put him in the category of a Trumpster. Okay? I'm sure
Okay.
he's a Trumpster. Okay? Unless he's changed his ways. And so we were just having a conversation one day, and all of a sudden he came out and he said, "Look, you will never be at my level." And I was like, "Huh? You will never be at my level. You could never be at my level. You're going to stay low, and I'm going to be here."
Did he say those exact words?
He said those exact words.
How did you guys even end up in this conversation? Like, what was that?
And it just started off as a casual, really conversation between the two of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he had always given me like little signs, like, I mean, if he wasn't trying to, and I grew up in the church, right? But if he wasn't trying to, steer me into his far right, evangelical type of way, right?
Yeah.
This was the type of person that he had a wife, but I think they had like 9 kids, and it was like his wife was forbidden to work, that kind of thing. And
Okay.
and I mean, I would hear this and I'd be like, oh, okay, mm-hmm. I never criticized them or anything like that, right? And as far as my work is concerned, I mean, my goodness, I had people writing in telling what great, patient service I gave them and all that. So, I don't know. My grandmother always said cream will always rise to the top, and I've always been cream, okay, no matter what. And so sometimes when people see that, they want to strike that down. So I feel that he just felt like he saw the cream rising to the top, and he wanted to put that thing to a halt and put me in my place.
Ashley, I'm going to ask you, tell us one of your coffee no cream moments.
So this happened while I was a senior director in corporate. I was in B2B sales, managing a team of 5 managers and over 100 contractors. I went out to a meeting with a CEO, and we had only communicated over the phone and over email. And, I'm, waiting in his office. I do all of the normal business development things, and I'm super polished, super profesh. Like, this is my job. Like, I close deals. I go and I get business. Like, that's the role. And the receptionist brings me back to the CEO's office, and the first thing he says when he sees me is, "You don't sound black on the phone at all." And I am immediately taken aback, and I'm so grateful in that moment for, I think, just practice and having years at that point of experience in the corporate workplace and navigating kind of curious situations, because I knew I had 2 choices. I can let this person pull me off my game, pull me out of my integrity, and like kind of spiral out, or I can take control of the situation and respond in a way that this person does not expect. So I went ahead and conducted the meeting, and I delivered my sales presentation exactly the way that he, would have, I think, probably not expected me to, but exactly the way that I would have if it were a normal client experience. Like, I had, again, years and years of experience in sales and client meetings, delivering presentations, things like that. And so despite the shock and, kind of, you've got to be kidding me moment, like, you've got to be kidding me that I'm like navigating under the surface, I continue, to just kind of move forward. But I did make a decision. It did not matter what this man said. I was not helping him. My company was not helping him. We were not going to sign him as a client. Like, that was my power move.
Tracy, I'm just going to give it to you. Tell us about one of your coffee no cream moments, because I know there have been many.
I'll start out with my very, very first office job. Of course, I was the only Black woman in this space, and I'm working with, in the legal field, I'm working with two attorneys and two caseworkers. It was in family law. And there had been something that had happened at the office, and I'd made a comment, and one of the attorneys, she just looked at me and she said, well, you don't have to worry about those things because you're practically white anyway.
Okay, wait. Okay. You're in the law office. You are an assistant paralegal.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to get you to break all that down.
Oh, that's right. So in this role, I'm an assistant. So I was hired there actually they needed a law clerk. Well, they called it law clerk, but not an official law clerk. But I was more in an admin role where I'm coming in, filing, doing things for them, helping them get ready for court, things like that. This was a job before I became a paralegal.
Okay, just take us through the story. What exactly, like you said, this woman said you're practically, but how did we lead to that? How did we get to that? Like, what was the vibe in the office? How are you feeling being in that workspace? Tell us everything.
Well, I think the main thing was, and this is important when you are, at that time I was in my early 20s. And so all these women that I'm working with, they're like 50 and older.
Right.
And they're white. And they're all from small towns. This is a government job. And that's pretty typical to have, that generational gap there, especially in government work. And so I'm at the office. And I think from day one, there had already been, just critiques about my appearance and how I dressed and things like that. And I could tell by the way that they were treating me and speaking to me that they had an idea of this is how Black women are. And I was not like what they were expecting by the way I dressed, the way I spoke, and all of those things. And so, when there had been an incident that came up, it was on the news, it'd been a while back, but they were all talking about it. And I'd made a comment, and this attorney had then said, well, you're practically white anyway, more or less insinuating you don't really deal with racism because you don't fit that mold of like a typical stereotypical Black woman. That's what she was insinuating.
I love the different, like you're different.
Right. Because they often, they will categorize us.
Absolutely.
There's just by the way we carry ourselves. And it was like when she said that, that's not the first time I've heard something like that or being spoken to by another white person in third person. Oh, I love when they wear their hats like this for church. Or there was one time at this same job, I was at a conference in Memphis, and, it's predominantly Black there, government, still working this government job. And there was a group of Black women there, and they clearly worked together, just having a good time. And we're all getting ready to gather like for orientation day. Like we checked into the hotel, we're getting ready for orientation. And I didn't think they were being loud, but they walked in together. They were giggling and laughing. And my coworker, who was a white woman, was sitting, we sat down, and she sat down beside me, and she said, I just hate when they're loud like that.
So she's already determined that your type of Black is more palatable for her. And then she's othering them. Like you just, so she doesn't see you. This is crazy.
Yeah. And so, at that moment, you just kind of freeze when something like that's said. And I kind of looked at her and I said, what do you mean? I said, they're Black just like me. What do you mean by they? And then it was this backpedaling. Oh, well, you just have sometimes how women get together and they're just loud. And I'm like, no, I really don't know what you're talking about, which I did. But I wanted her to just come out and verbalize it.
You wanted her to say it.
Right. But I think it's another example, too, of how often things like that are set off the cuff and without the expectation that we're going to come back and say, hey, what did you mean by that?
Tammy is going to share with us, and I know she has many. I've heard this woman. So we might get into some other ones, but just tell us just one of your coffee no cream moments.
I was in a meeting, and there was this Black woman. She was a busty Black woman. She was a Black woman. She had TNA. And because she was so top heavy, she had to wear, clothes. And for as covered as this Black woman's body was, we're sitting in the meeting and she walks past, and all of the white people started talking about her body and basically calling her body vulgar and how inappropriate she was dressed. And I was thinking, she's literally covered to her neck. She cannot help that she is Black, and that's the way her body is designed. But I remember sitting in that room and thinking, these people think our very bodies are vulgar.
Mm-hmm.
Not our behavior, not our language. Our bodies are vulgar. So that was one moment I just went, okay, who am I in the room with, right? Because I never want to be the acceptable or the good black in the room of white people. And I think a lot of us as black managers and leaders, we strive to be the good black, right? And so we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to talk about race. We don't want to make it about race. And so when that comment was made, I remember saying, what is vulgar about her dress? That is her body. That would be like me saying you're very thin, and I find your very thin body triggering because it reminds me of somebody who has an eating disorder. And I just remember the room getting quiet. And that was like the first time I went, okay, I don't know how much longer you're going to be here.
Was it primarily, I'm sorry, was it primarily women, men? It was a mix?
Mix of men and women. So that was the first kind of my moment. I went, I'm working with and for people who literally see black bodies as vulgar. I mean, I don't know where you go from there.
The fact that they felt comfortable, were they trying to speak under their breaths?
No.
Or they just said it outright, like knowing you could hear?
Yeah. And I think they said it as like, why, like we all would just see this body in the same way. Right. It's almost like they forgot that they were sexualizing a black body for which I'm in. I am in the black body. I'm a woman who is full chested and have a behind. Now it's proportional to my height and all the other things, right? So I don't look out of place. And she was well endowed in both directions. But I remember thinking, but that's my body. Maybe just in a smaller frame, but that is my body. And when I'm not in the room and I walk by your offices, what are you saying about my body? And
so,
yeah.
What was the reaction when you spoke up about it? What was their feedback or reaction?
The white women said, well, it's not vulgar. She can't help that that's how she's built, but my goodness. And I said, what is the my goodness about? What do you purport that she does? If she cannot help that she's built that way, what is the my goodness about? Right. One of the ladies said, she said, I'm just saying my goodness, like that's a lot to have on your body. I said, right. But do you think we come through the assembly line from wherever we come from, however we get here? Do you think we get to pick what parts we want? Like, I'll take the extra breast. I'll take the extra leg. I'll take the extra lip. In your cases, I'll take no lip. Like we don't get to decide how we come. And the men in the room said, I would just do something about that. And I said, well, you control her salary. Are you going to give her some more money in salary to be able to do something about that if she wanted to do something about that? Because if the answer to that is no, I don't know what you think she should do about that. And why do you think she would want to do something about her body?
Monique, tell us your coffee no cream moment. Give us the story.
Absolutely. So sitting down with the president of the hospital, of an organization in which I previously supported as the HR lead, and in an attempt for the president to give me an annual review. So the words that I saw, loud and aggression.
Wow.
And in writing, in an annual performance review.
Did he actually say those words as well, or did he just hide behind the paper?
Hide behind the paper.
Okay.
So the words were never expressed verbally, they were written. And so as I was, our reviews are in totality 4 pages. And as I was reviewing the review and I was reading all of the things that he noted that I was doing very well, he also took the time to characterize what he felt certain attributes or behaviors as being loud and I guess at some point, some aggression being shown. And then it proceeded to go into his explanation why. And really, Erin, I couldn't sit and listen.
Now, one of the reasons I wanted to start Coffee No Cream is because of the impact of living as a Black woman, as a dark-skinned Black woman in America for 4 full decades into my 5th decade now, and what it has been like to me. And I thought, surely I am not alone in this. I am not alone in this. And what I've learned is I'm definitely not alone in this. And my viewers have shown me, they've written, they've talked to me, and let me know that the podcast is resonating. One of the biggest things I wanted to discuss and wanted to bring forward is the impact that this is having on us physically, mentally. When I was in college, I started having chest pains. I didn't experience a lot of racism in college. That was very blatant, but I was stressed out. I was a stressed out college student. And that's when I started experiencing chest pains, these little nagging feelings that I get, that I've talked about on the podcast, that I get on the left side, that have not only, just been mild, but have radiated through to my back. So physical symptoms of stress. And it's only gotten worse over the years. And it took me a while to realize what that was. That was stress. That was my anxiety kicking in. And I didn't know at the time that that's what that was. I didn't know that other Black women were experiencing the same type of stress that I was experiencing, but maybe that stress was showing up in different ways. Maybe that was taking a different toll on their bodies. And I want to recap how it's showing up for us, because I think it's very important that we acknowledge this. So just a few snippets from a few good ones that came on the podcast that are sharing how they're experiencing physical symptoms from what they're going through throughout the years of microaggressions, being beaten down, being overlooked, being misunderstood in the workplace. I've experienced that feeling of loneliness, that feeling of, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I can do. Because when they're microaggressions, who do you tell? It's not like somebody just blatantly came out and called you the N-word or attempted some blatant form of discrimination against you. They're more subtle things. But with those types of things that happen to us in the workplace, it causes a tremendous amount of stress on our bodies. And I know it's happened to me. I spoke about my chest pains that I've had for many years, actually since college. And I've had every test run on me only to find out that when I get stressed, I get chest pains. When I think I'm not stressed, when I think I'm good, when I think I'm handling it and I'm not, and it's still bothering me, I get like little achy sensation in my chest, which is scary because it's in my chest, it's on the left side. And I think when you're in these positions, it just works on you, right? Like, and until you're away from it, you can't even see it.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're so desperate to hold on, and what are we really holding on to? A diseased body,
Totally.
mental issues, all of the things,
Absolutely. I would definitely say, I think one other time I had a situation where I had been looking for an EVP, and I had busted my butt trying to find this EVP, like day and night. It was very specialized, all the things. And it was like I had found this person, screened this person, did all the things, but because one of the senior leaders in the company knew this person, they refused to give me the credit. And I was like, and I was seeking them to be like, Michelle, great find, really hard, blah, 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 blah. But it was like, oh, well, I know this person. But I'm like, but you didn't reach out. If you knew this person, you should have reached
Right.
out to this person. You should have engaged in conversation. But they refused to give me the credit. And I feel that so many times in situations like that, We're working so hard. We're doubling down. We're trying to get seen. We're trying to do all of these things, and that level of stress and feeling of inadequacy really starts to build.
Oh,
And to
yeah.
your point, it shows up in different ways between headaches and breakouts and shortness of breath and like and just all of the things that come about when you're the stress is like, oh no, like I'm about to show up because you've been suppressing it for far too long.
Is that
It's
what
way
you
too much.
experienced?
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
started to deal with a lot of migraines. I started to deal with shortness of breath, depression. I hated that, like, what do they call Sundays? Sunday, it's called
Yeah, because Mondays you gotta work.
yes, all of
Yes.
it. And
Yeah.
knowing that's coming, and knowing that it's like it's not like you're in an environment that's welcoming and loving and understanding. They say that, but it's not that. Or you have a
Right.
company that's saying, at the time when DEI was the buzzword, oh, we
Mm-hmm.
really believe in cultivating, stronger relationships and DEI. We stand on this and we stand on that. And it was cool to do it until it wasn't, right? So I'm really thinking that you had people advocating for you, and in all actuality, it was just a buzzword to fill so people could look at them in a more favorable way. And it's
Yeah.
not really being acted upon, but instead you're still being separated, but in a most diabolical way.
Because I couldn't control certain things that were happening at work, I became really, really controlling of my weight and diet, bordering
Mm-hmm.
along ED.
Mm.
I was only eating 900 calories a day. I was exercising twice a day. I was not letting myself eat anything after 7 o'clock. And I was
Uh-oh.
very, very thin. Like
Mm-hmm.
the most compliments I've ever received on my weight because nobody realized that I was truly stressed out.
Right, right.
And on the other end, I was also making really bad decisions that had to do with my depression over going to work. I mean, there were days in a row where I would get up, get my son to school, and get back in the bed and just like watch Daria for hours, knowing I have some deadline I need to meet at work. I have something coming up I need to do, but I just couldn't bring myself to get my clothes on and get to the office.
It just took a tremendous amount of courage to just, as a Black woman too, to just up and go to Mexico.
I couldn't see any other way at that
Mm-hmm.
moment. I couldn't see any other way. I was standing at my washer one day and I'm going to cry just thinking about it. I
Mm-hmm.
just broke down in tears. I couldn't even stand up straight at the washing machine. I said, I can't continue like this. I
Mm-hmm.
am dying on the inside.
Right.
I can't do this.
It's amazing. I mean, that's so inspiring. So that's so inspiring. And so you go to Mexico.
I
You
leave.
you
Mhm.
leave and you're there for how long?
We stayed for a year.
Mm-hmm.
That was as long as my ex-husband would agree to,
Mm-hmm.
because we did have joint custody.
Right, right.
And I, at the time, I knew that I was like propelling forward, but I also felt like such a huge failure that I couldn't stick it out and make it happen.
Oh, girl.
And I couldn't explain well to my parents what I was doing, and they didn't really understand because, again, I couldn't really explain to them how I was suffering. We're talking about people who did sit-ins at Woolworths and got spit on and yelled at. And my mom, the first company that came into her hometown that she tried to get a job with told her no, even though she graduated at the top of her class. No, you little black, you four-eyed black girl.
Mm,
No. How do I explain to these people that I can't cut the mustard?
right. I just can't take it because they went through so much worse. They're just like, you have a job. You're getting retirement. You
Yeah.
have benefits.
And
Why would you leave that?
and what they're seeing from the outside is you leave work whenever you feel like it, you take vacations, you have enough money to do what you want to do. So like from the outside, no one would know how I was feeling, how I was really doing. And then because we don't really look at weight loss as a sign of stress, I am 5, 10, 5'9". I've been lying about my height for so long.
Me too. Me too.
There is no reason I should ever be 130 pounds. So people looking at my weight loss, I mean, like even at one point I was having my food delivered to me so I could keep in that 900 calories. And I would let my nephew eat like half of my plate before I ate it. And nobody was like, wait a minute, you're already eating so little.
Right.
Why are you letting him eat half of your food? Nobody was noting the concern in my physical deterioration.
Transparently, if I could go down memory lane for a minute, I would say maybe after 2 months after obtaining my doctoral degree, and this was maybe a month before I started the new position, it's almost like I automatically went into some sort of depression. Um, and I don't know because of what I had just went through with my doctoral degree, because that's an experience, you know. And I was working full time and going to school full time, writing a dissertation. So I would love to do some research about the effects that has on you after completion and just what that looks like. But I went through like a journey of like my self-worth, like feeling valuable, feeling valued. Um, I think decision fatigue, because I think that's something that we don't really talk about, especially if you've been in a position while you're going through school and you're seeking something new, having to make decisions like, oh, do I want to leave? Do I want to stay in this field? Do I want to not stay in this field? Do I want to move and go somewhere else across the country to pursue another opportunity? I think knowing when to leave and when to stay, decision fatigue, I think that was a thing as well. Um, but I went through a depression, and you asked me how did I get myself out of it. I would definitely have, and these are all I statements. But I literally leaned on my faith in God. I did.
Absolutely.
I went through. It's almost like I went through some type of identity, crisis or identity shift, because I kind of went into a hole. Like nothing I just did worked out for me. Because again, I followed everything they told me to do. I got the experience, I got another degree, and I still wasn't, offered what I thought I was gonna be, offered in that process. So I really I had to lean on what I know, and that's my foundation, my faith in God. A lot of days praying, and I went through this for probably a year. A
Wow.
year.
First thing I found, Healthline and the American Heart Association did a research study in 2024, and they found that 50% of Black women have heart disease caused by discrimination stress. So I'm like, what's discrimination stress? I didn't even know such a thing existed, but it actually does. So let me give you the definition. Discrimination stress is the chronic stress your body experiences from being treated unfairly because of your race and gender. It's not just workplace stress. It's the specific stress that comes from racism and sexism. So, types of discrimination stress are those microaggressions that Michelle and I were talking about. So, being passed up for promotions, being told that you're not performing well. Michelle's boss at that one job she had said she was doing nothing right, when she had another supervisor in that same role who was totally happy with her work performance. Being called aggressive, and you're just being you, right? So constantly having to be on guard, constantly having to be holding yourself at a different level. Like it's tense, it's stress, it's stressful to not be able to relax ever. Never. We can't relax, because if we do this, we're angry. If we say that, we're aggressive. If somebody says something to us that's sideways, it's overreaction. It's not to be believed. Okay, so microaggressions is one. Also, a type of discrimination stress is this systematic and institutionalized behavior that, is part of the workplace culture. So, for example, like I said, being passed up for promotions despite qualifications, receiving harsher performance reviews than white counterparts. We've talked about this. I've talked about it. If you haven't seen my interview with Monique McKinney, I believe it was episode 3, where we talked about performance reviews and how we are treated more harshly. That was a good episode. You should definitely go check it out. Being the only Black person in leadership positions and meetings. Now, Black women are doing it better than anybody right now. We are more educated. We are getting the jobs. We are doing the things. So we are finding ourselves in leadership positions and the only ones in these meetings. That is stressful. I've been there. That is stressful. And if that is you, I'm curious, how do you feel about it, right? What has been said to you? And regardless of the fact that you are in these positions, people will still try you. Stressful. It's discrimination stress. Daily vigilance stress is another one. So the constant code switching. Feeling like you can't fully relax in your environment. You've got to have on your work face. You can't say certain things. You're constantly monitoring how you're being perceived. Yeah. Now, we have had some amazing guests on this podcast, and this is episode 35. This is a recap of the first 34 episodes. Not all of the episodes, but a recap. And I could not be more grateful that we have had 34 episodes. I have shown up for you guys 34, now 35 weeks in a row, and I have no intention of stopping because I know that together we Black women can do amazing things. We need to come together. We need to acknowledge. We need to support each other. We need to uplift each other. We need to figure out how to navigate these waters. Now more than ever is that important. So in the last recap segment, I want to just give you some of my favorite takeaways of the year, like advice, tips, warnings that my beautiful Black women guests have given in the first year of the Coffee No Cream podcast.
Listen to the signs, right? Don't think, oh, it's just me, or no, listen to the signs, internalize those, right? Because you're going to compartmentalize where you're going to put them, okay? So if Joe always has a problem, okay, he got a problem with Black people. He don't like Black people. Just not put him in that compartment, whether it's substantiated or not. It may just be a feeling that you have. We have to understand that we, especially as women, we can feel each other's energy. Like that's a real thing. It's just not something that's taught to us in school. Okay. So you may just have a funny feeling about this person. It's okay. Go ahead and use that. This is part of, the gifts that we have that are real. And I'm talking more quantum physics now. Quantum physics is a real science. We can read each other's energy because everything is energy. So know who you're dealing with. Put them in that category, if you will, in your mind. And I used to have to recite in my head or visualize in my head. I know I'm going to see Joe today. I know he's going to do something that gets on my nerves. He's going to try his best to get on my nerves. But I'm visualizing how I'm going to respond to him, or if I'm going to respond at all, because he may hate when I ignore him, but I have every right to do so, right? Because why? You got to protect your peace at all costs. Protect your peace. So if that means ignoring him, ignore him. He's going to get the message. She's ignoring me. Okay? But that is how you can take some of your power back as well. So visualizing, go through this, visualize in your head how you're going to be when this person is around you, how you're going to respond to them. This is you getting your power, harnessing your power. Okay? It's very, very, very important that you do that so that you're not going to be triggered. Understand they have a power that can trigger you. But if you're prepared, if you go into the game prepared and you know how they are, you prepare yourself.
Using creativity as medicine. It is crucial. I believe it is the most powerful medicine there is. Not only because whatever you choose as your creative outlet can lead you to great and amazing things, but when you're in a creative space, it can keep you in motion on other things. So, for many of you, I've told you, when I started The Rebel Geek, my web consulting business, I didn't know I was starting it. I had a dream about a website. I need a blackhairstylist.com. Many, many years ago, I had no idea how to build websites. And this was going to be the coolest thing, the best idea ever. Actually, still is. But I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to build the website. I didn't know what I was doing. But I got to find like creative graphic designers, and I got to learn and design my website and the whole process around how the website was going to operate and flow. And what happened? As a result, I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars in my web consulting business. I didn't know that that was what was going to happen, but I was just working on a creative project that I was really, really into. And I invested a lot of time in it because I happened to have it at that time. I wasn't really doing anything. And it turned into my bread and butter that I'm still working in today. When I came up with the idea for this podcast, I guess it was almost 2 years ago. And like I told you guys, when I was at my birthday celebration in Thailand and we were all in the pool and we were just think tanking it and working it through, it was just a thought. It was just a creative project that I worked on. So I got my logo design, creative. I worked with a guy to get my little intro beat done, creative. I built my website, creative. And here we are, 30 plus episodes later. Here we are. So you never know where it's going to land you. And by the way, I have made a little money on this podcast. It could very well become my main thing. So that creativity is therapy. It gets me in motion. When I'm working on creative projects, whatever they are, they help me to stop stressing out about whatever else is going on over here. I'm in motion, creative, doing something, having my medicine of creative juices flowing through me. I'm telling you, if you guys can figure it out, what it is you want to do to be creative, it's like the best gift you can give to yourself ever. And it doesn't have to be some bullshit arts and crafts project, or it can be. That's okay. Get into something. I promise you, it is the biggest stress reliever ever. Find your creative outlet. Be intentional about it. Think about it. Really give it some thought, and it could become something serious. It can become something major.
God did not write on some universal whiteboard in the sky that I can't get what I want from life or career because of external circumstances. If I desire it, I think it's for me. I have to do my part to figure it out, but I have to also trust and believe that things are going to work out in my favor. And it doesn't mean that you're going to have a perfect pathway. My career certainly has not been perfect. It's been lots of highs and lots of lows, but more highs, by far more highs than lows.
Confidence to me is not about, I speak confidently, I stand straight, I do all these things because I'm a confident person, right? Confidence comes from actually doing something. And once you do that thing, or try to do that thing, or just a little nudge, right? You start to gain the proof that you're able to do that thing. Okay. So when I say you're in motion, you're over here doing your own thing outside of work, right? Like say, oh, I have this side hustle that I'm doing, right? And I'm just going to try. And you start working on the side hustle like a little bit at a time, and your emotion, your emotion, your emotion. And then you have a little win, right? Okay, proof that, okay, the side hustle actually worked a little bit. I made a little money off of the side hustle. So you keep going. You're moving, your emotion, your emotion. And then you make more money. And then you make more money. And then you make more money. Okay. So you're building your confidence in that thing. And even though at your day job, they might not be validating you, who cares? Because you're over here working on something else. You're in motion.
In that case where someone has hushed you and Erin, it's happened to me on numerous occasions because people think I'm younger than I am and people think I'm a junior, or I'm not the actual person coming in to train them because I sit at the table with them. Here's what I do. There's a few pieces. The first one is this. If someone does hush you and it's disrespectful, I ask that you call it out regardless of their position because you get to take a stand for you. Couple of things before we verbalize. I want you to physically turn, and it's called fronting. Remember, do body language. I want you to physically turn and face whomever that person is. So if the person's right beside you, I want you to turn, and I don't want you to talk around them. We're speaking directly to the person who offended, who shushed you. You're going to turn to them. You're going to pause, turn to them, eye contact to eye contact with them alone. And you're going to let them know, I don't appreciate being spoken to in a disrespectful manner, as I do not disrespect anyone here. Pause. I'd like to continue, and I want you to continue with what you're saying. You have to call them out. You have to call them out because one, it allows them to be clear on what you will and will not tolerate to that one person. And secondly, it puts everyone else on notice as to what you will and will not accept. So in that instance, that's what Karen would do. I'd totally face, and I'd say the person's first name, Erin, I don't appreciate how you just spoke to me. It was disrespectful, and I speak to you and everyone else around this table respectfully all the time. So as I was saying, or I'd like to continue, and I'd go back and address the whole group or table. Please call out being shushed in the moment. Please call out being shushed in the moment, because what you'll see is, especially when it's someone who's above you, position-wise, is everyone's afraid of authority. We've been conditioned as young people to be whoever authority is deemed as, perceived as.
Right.
But the authority is actually you. So when you do that, you also make room for other people to stand up for themselves. And you'll be so surprised how so many people afterwards were like, you know what, I admire you, because people wish they could do it themselves. My friends, stop people in the act when they try to shut you up, shush you. And that's why I want you to address it verbally and with your body language, as I just shared.
You can't stop people from sending the message, but you can stop yourself from responding to it. So let's just say somebody sends me a text message on a Saturday. If I respond to it right then and there, they're going to know that if they send me a message, I'm going to respond. If they call me and I pick up the phone and I'm like, what's up? They're going to know that I'm going to pick up the phone. And sometimes they'll call once and sometimes they'll keep calling to see if you'll pick up. People will test you, right? And if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. That's just what people will do. So say somebody texts me and you want to respond. It's bothering you. You really just want to just give them the answer. I just want to respond. What I do, I respond, but I schedule the send. And then I've done it. It's off. It's off my chest and it's done. Because what I don't want them to do, even if they sent me an email and I'm just scrolling through my email one night and I see they sent me an email at like 10 o'clock at night and I want to respond, I don't want them to know that I'm up working at 10 o'clock at night, even though I have been in the past and I will be. I will schedule the email to go out the next morning sometime. I won't send a response at that time because even if they're in bed by the time you respond, this sort of behavior is telling them that you work outside of normal business hours.
Reciprocate. Don't just be looking for people to do things for you, but be a villager. right? Like, be someone who is bringing opportunity to the collective. So if I can't do something or it's out of my scope, I always tell a client or someone who reaches out, I'm not the best person for that, but I know someone who is. Or if there's an opportunity that's available and I know someone's looking for a job, I'm like, oh, this person would be great for that. Like, connect people. That is how the game is played in corporate. Like, the people who look like this, that is what they are doing. Over golf, over, over Sunday brunch, over happy hour in the cigar room. Like, that's how the decisions are getting made. And so, over wine tasting, like, that's how it's happening. And so, be a villager.
What you need to be doing with your boundaries erected is working on your own shit, your way out of the job, your own hobbies, your own interests, your own family. There's only so much time you have in a day to spend thinking and making decisions.
Too many of us as Black people, we go into this workplace, oh, I'm going to dress like them, I'm going to straighten my hair, I'm going to wear this wig, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be as European as I can in order to fit in. You will never fit in. Your skin is darker.
You need to stay in motion, constantly working on yourself, building your own shit. Even if you don't want to work for yourself, there are ways so that you can block out the noise and realize that the false sense of security that you're getting or not getting from your job isn't affecting anything. It has nothing to do with anything. Yes, I know sometimes it's easier said than done. These people say things to you. They try to like dig at you. They try to get to you. But you could just be like, if you're like, okay, I got this thing over here, I'm not worried about it. That's just incentive to me to keep going, to go harder on what you're in motion on over here.
What I learned is that being liked is not the same thing as being valued.
When you have boundaries set up, you have to use those boundaries in order to propel and advance yourself. Those boundaries aren't just up just to be like, yeah, no, don't talk to me, don't come to me, I don't play. You need to be using whatever gifts God has given you, whatever gifts you have given yourself or gifted yourself or worked on for yourself for you. So if you have emotional strength or history with relationships or life skills that could be beneficial for somebody else, that's fine, but you don't have to spend and drain your time and energy and resources to help somebody else. I don't care if it's at work. I don't care if it's with a friend.
The challenges that we face, like, they just are a part of our reality. And so we can spend a lot of time arguing with what has been, or we can just acknowledge those are circumstances and I choose to rise above. And I'm equipped to rise above. I'm capable of rising above.
The thing is that there's good and bad in every race. But the way we're always down on each other, this Black person did this to me, lots of Black people have done a lot to me. But I still keep going because at the end of the day, not everybody is bad.
To your clients, to your job, it's just like the mall. The mall closes at 9. You can't go to the mall at midnight. It is understood that you work from this hour to this hour. Unless it's an emergency, they shouldn't have access to you. If somebody at your job or your client or somebody has access to you outside of those hours, it's because you've given them access to you. You haven't taught them that you don't respond outside of business hours. You use those boundaries to get yourself to the next level. That's what you should be using those boundaries for. The boundaries of when people call you and they want you to go out and do stuff. And you got to be doing something else over here because you're working on something. You use those boundaries to work on, say, your resume or getting the next better job, working on that business. Don't think that just because you're giving your time and talking about them, that it's not sucking off of you. That's exactly what it is. It's an energy suck. And you shouldn't let people suck off of you at all. That's an energy suck. And the sooner you realize that, the better, right? Boundaries are put in position for a reason, to help you, no matter if the pressure is coming from the outside or within you, to like step outside of those boundaries and do something else instead of doing what you need to do to get where you need to go.
My father-in-law used to say to me all the time, the only reason why you should go to work, Natasha, is to find out what the hell is going on in that place and get the fuck out. Yeah? Just find out how it works, use their systems, and get out and do your own thing.
So guys, I just want to say thank you so much for coming along on this journey with me, not just this episode, but this entire year and continuing forward in 2026. I have so many things planned for you. I cannot wait to see what this podcast brings, not just to me, but to you guys, to the community, to everyone who is here to support me. If you guys want to do more with me, if you want to engage in a bigger way, we have the Facebook group. The link is below. Just check the link below. If you're listening on Spotify, the link is in the show notes. If you are interested in expanding where you are, stepping out, stepping up, trying to do more, and you just want to dibble and dabble and figure out what it is you might want to do, I've created the free educational resource database library. You can go to coffeenocream.com/free. If you vibe with me and you want to talk more, you want more of this one-on-one action, this one-on-one interaction with me, figuring out how you can pivot into your pivot season, how you can make the most of your pivot season, get yourself unstuck, because of course, if you listen to this podcast, you know I've been stuck and got myself unstuck and pivoted many, many times over the course of my career. You can book time with me with a motion hour, coffeenocream.com/motion. I think that is it, guys. Thank you so much for the love and support. I love you guys to pieces. Thank you. I am wishing you the best, the most amazing, blessed, fulfilling, dynamic pivot season of your lives in 2026. And I'll see you in 2026.